Let me open up her phone, and where is it at here? Hold on one second there, Gail. Let's welcome in Gail Kim. Gail, how you doing today?
Did you just call me Kim?
I said Gail Kim. How are you?
Okay, that's okay. I was going to say almost everyone calls me Kim, so it's okay. I was waiting for an introduction like Josh got.
Well, you are the greatest knockout of all time. What else do I need to say?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It was a joke. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are you doing today? I'm sure it's a lovely day. Where are you at in the world today?
I am in Florida right now, and it is 71 degrees outside.
So you're not expecting any snow like Josh and I are expecting?
No, but it does drop down to in the 50s at night, so it's not as bad as you guys, but it is cold for Florida.
Well, let's start right in, Gail. A lot is going on in the knockouts division. New champion. You wearing stripes these days. Talk to us about where the knockouts division is at.
Well, I was just talking about this actually to a couple of people, some fans, some other wrestlers, and I was saying this generation of the knockouts currently, they're starting to just come together nicely because we went through, we all went through a transition period. When I retired, I was transitioning to become an agent, and the girls were all kind of around that time there, and then with a few additions after that. So it's almost like a transitional period of gelling together, and I feel like we've found our flow, and I feel like the girls all have something very different to offer in terms of, it reminds me of the first generation of knockouts, when it was myself, ODB, Austin Kong, Tracy Brooks, a little flavor of a different flavor for each fan, someone that they can maybe perhaps relate to or just admire. It's just everyone has a different character, and I love it. I love how we just have a variety of, characters, wrestlers, sexiness from Scarlett. I truly believe that there's a place in wrestling for a little bit of everything.
Gail, do you think this is the most talented knockout division we've ever seen, in the sense that you look at that lineup, and there every night you could say so-and-so could be the champion, this person could be the champion, Jordan could be the champion, Tessa, Taya.
Yeah. Well, that's hard for me to say because I'm going to have a little biased opinion because of the generation I came from, but I would say it's, like I said, very similar, and you just never know, like you just said, who's going to be champion, because we do have very talented women in the locker room who, we went from Sue to Tessa to Taya, and I think you just never know. I think a lot of people thought that Tessa was going to be undefeated, and yes, there's a lot of controversy in terms of, my officiating at the Homecoming pay-per-view, but, it was just that moment just built up to that, what happened, and I'm going to defend myself. Tessa was abusing authority at that point, and I was going, a lot of people said, why didn't you just disqualify her? And you know what? That was the easy way out in my mind. And when I went into that match, I knew that I was not going to disqualify her, because I just had a feeling that that's where she would go.
So clearly there's a little bad blood with you and Tessa.
I mean, listen, I really try to treat all the girls very equally, no matter what the attitude is, but she just took it a little step too far. And I'm not going to be one of the other referees to be pushed around. I'm going to defend myself.
Alrighty. Well, Gail, with that, we're going to open up for some media questions. I know we got a whole room full of people wanting to chime in and talk to you, so, media, star 6 to get in queue. We ask you to identify yourself and your media outlet, and please only one question at a time.
Q&A session has started. To ask your question, please press star 6.
Hey, this is Riju from Sportskila. How are you doing, Gail?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. My question is, as a proud Impact Hall of Famer, whom would you nominate for the class of 2019?
As in, like, the MVP, or are you saying someone's come in from outside the company? Can you clarify your question?
No, I mean, who would you say deserves to be in the Impact Hall of Fame? And,
it's Impact Hall of Fame, yeah. Oh, boy. That's a hard one. Well, I mean, there's a lot of obvious picks. They might be in different companies, so I don't know if it could happen, but obviously AJ Styles would be the number one top pick for, I would think, most fans and most wrestlers and coworkers and companies. I mean, he's outstanding and has proven himself to be an MVP throughout all his years in wrestling. So that would be probably the top pick if that can happen. Awesome Kong could be a good one if you're going to pick a female. I would say it would be AJ or Awesome Kong. Male, and I would pick one male and one female.
Thank you so much.
Risha, who'd you pick?
Probably the same choices.
No one else? You can't pick somebody else? You had a whole roster of people. Nobody comes to mind for you?
So when Abyss was on the call, he nominated Mike Tenay, and he said he would be the ideal.
Yeah. Mike Tenay, yes, that's a good one. You know what it is? I think when you hear that question, you automatically kind of think your mind goes to wrestlers, but you're right. There's a lot of people who contributed to the company, and Mike Tenay, I would not object. He deserves it 100%, and he's amazing. I wish he was still in wrestling right now.
Great. Thank you so much.
And Risha, we have no updates on when we're coming back to India.
I want to go.
Hey, Gail, how you doing? This is Jeff from HighSpot Podcast and BodySlam.net. Now, you obviously, as referee, said you're not going to be pushed around, but it does lead into the conversation whether, you maybe have one more match in you or, the fans are saying one more match. What would you say if Tessa were to challenge you, if anyone else on the roster were to try to, make a name for themselves by calling you out? Would you be willing to do one more match?
It's a hard question to answer. I guess I would say it depends on the circumstances and how far I'm pushed. And also, I think it goes honestly by how my body feels at that moment, because still to this day, since I retired last February, my back gives me a lot of problems, on and off. I pretty much look normal in day-to-day life, but that doesn't mean I can have a wrestling match. I am getting an update on my back currently just to see where it's at, just because it was bothering me. So if I feel good and the circumstance did arise, I wouldn't object to it. There's a lot of factors that would play into it, and of course, I don't know. I mean, I want to see how bad the fans want it, because that's really what it comes down to, is do the fans want to see it?
And it has to be the right circumstances, right? It has to be like, a win-win, like, a high profile, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want it to mean something. And like I said, I would really, if the circumstance did arise that the fans wanted it, then that would probably be the number one reason why I did it. Otherwise, I mean, if nobody cares, why would I do it? Why would I put my body through that?
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, Ryan Bowman from thegorillaposition.com. As the lady who kind of watches over the Knockouts division, I'd like you to kind of give some expanded thoughts on two of the younger members of the roster, Jordan Grace and Kiera Hogan, and what you think their long-term potential is.
Oh, I mean, okay, let's start with Kiera, for example. Even before she was with the company, I would say as far back as when Christy Hemme was with the company and doing kind of backstage stuff with the girls, and I was still an active wrestler. We were talking about her back then, and I just absolutely adore her and see so much potential in her. And I mean, honestly, I'm really impressed lately because when I'm at TVs, I'm kind of, I'm with the girls all day, but I don't really get to experience anything besides the wrestling part of it, in terms of pre-tapes and her interviews and everything. And I love when she's talking. I mean, I truly do connect with her and feel her when she's, you know, doing interviews and cutting promos. In terms of her wrestling, I feel like she's at this point where she's starting to improve, and I think she's only going to get better. Jordan was obviously made a mark. I think a lot of people who didn't know her saw her at All In, and everyone was, even myself, I had seen her at a seminar before that, and I knew that she was very, very passionate about wrestling. I would say in that seminar, out of probably 15 girls, she was the one that stuck out to me as being the most passionate, because she just had this incredible knowledge of wrestling and wanted to just badly, you know, get to that spot of being on TV. And I think she's had an incredible 2018 going from All In to Impact, and I think she's really going to make a mark. I had no idea she had been working for 8 years, actually. I thought she had been working for a couple of years, and at least we know that she is a polished individual. Obviously, there's always room. Like I said, till the day that I retired, I always tried to learn and get better and be the best, and I think that's what we're going to see from her.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Gail. This is Ian Carey from SE Scoops, and the Rosemary Sue Young and Dark Alley storyline is a little different than what goes on in the rest of the division. Can you talk a bit about their rivalry, what it brings to the Knockouts division, and perhaps what some challenges are in having a storyline like that?
Yeah. You know, I think it's the first time that I've ever witnessed in my time female dark characters of this magnitude. Basically, back when I started, it was kind of like, first off, there was only room for girls who looked like model-like, and, you know, in WWE at the time when I entered, there was a certain type that they were looking for. And then I feel like what really broke the mold was the original Knockouts division, when we had a variety of characters like ODB and Awesome Kong and things you had never seen before. And then it kind of opened that door to different type of characters, and Rosemary came along, and Sue Young, you know, she made that transition from, cause she's been wrestling a really long time, and now we have Dark Alley, and I'll say they proved me wrong, because I always felt like there isn't enough, you know, there isn't space for 3 dark characters, and, you know, how are people going to react to that? But I have to tell you, oh my gosh, I mean, Rosemary's the most over knockout we have, and she's been gone injured for a long time. And I think that the kids love it, especially. I think that the fans love it. I think it's different. I love that we're doing something that hasn't been done before. I mean, right now Impact Wrestling is just doing everything right and taking risks in terms of what they are putting out there, and I think it's been successful so far.
All right, I'll put you on the spot with a follow-up question. Do you think Rosemary can bring the good out in Alley again, or is Dark Alley here to stay?
Wow. Well, right now it seems like Dark Alley is here to stay. We'll see. I mean, I'm actually pretty interested in seeing a future program or feud with the two, so I'm almost hoping that Alley does stay dark. I'm interested.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
You want the Alley we know and love, or you want Dark Alley?
I want Dark Alley right now.
I gotta tell you, I've kind of been liking Dark Alley quite a bit, and she's got some big wins since she went dark. I mean, she beat Kira Hogan there. Her and Sue Young got a victory in tag action. I think Dark Alley is how Alley wins the Knockouts Championship in 2019.
Nice. I like it.
Well, that's 3 for 3 on this call. All want Dark Alley.
Yeah.
Hi again, Morgan Richards here from Radio Cardiff in the United Kingdom. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. So, as you've mentioned, you've competed all across the world in your career. You've always been so proud of Impact's knockout division. For you, what's really separated that from anywhere else in the world? What makes it so original? And has it just been great to see the differences and popularity in the division over the years?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like, we've gone through some different phases, but I feel like the knockouts division has always been consistent from the day that they created this division in having a various amount of girls, various types of girls and characters, and they've never strayed from that. They've never, tried to go, I mean, maybe here and there they've done some maybe sexier, free tapes or things in the ring, here and there, one-off, but they've stayed really consistent in making wrestling the priority, keeping the characters true to who they are. And I feel like that's the winning formula for us. I mean, to this day, for example, I was just saying on the last question that Rosemary is the most popular knockout, and she's been injured for a long time, but people just absolutely love her, and she is very different in herself. She's not that typical knockout or diva or whatever you would see prior, years ago. And I love this evolution of wrestling that people who are just characters or, you can relate to or connect with are okay. And I love it.
And just a quick follow-up to that, of course.
Yeah.
Is there anyone outside of Impact that you really would love to see in the Knockouts division in 2019 or the near future?
Oh, there's a couple of girls, I guess, but I almost don't want to say it because WWE signs everyone. They're snatching up everyone, making slim pickings for everyone. I just heard that Viper just got signed. I don't know if that's a rumor or not. I don't know if it's made an announcement, but I love Viper in the UK. There's a girl named Shotzi Blackheart here in the Indies that we used once, but then she got injured straight after that. I see a lot of potential in her. There's a girl in Mexico, Kata, that I really like. There's a couple of girls in Mexico, actually, that now that we've been doing our tapings in Mexico City and that work with AAA, that I get to be exposed to more independent talent, which, we're always looking for. But like I said, it seems like now everyone's kind of getting scooped up, and I just want more of a pool to pick from. And so if you know any other good girls internationally, let me know. I think all the Japanese girls are pretty much taken, it seems like.
Yeah, everyone looks like they're getting signed up, so it is very slim pickings, as you said.
Yeah, it is very slim pickings, and I know now there's a couple of people that I've heard have turned down WWE because they know that there's just, it's almost like you're going to drown in that pool of talent. It's very difficult. So I think right now is a great time for independent wrestling, for all these smaller companies like, the up-and-coming companies and ourselves, the competing companies, as people would see. I think it's a great time because people can just make a name for themselves outside of that bubble and, hopefully one day get to the point where they want to be, whether it's there or somewhere else. But I think it's just a great time for wrestling in general.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gail.
Thank you.
Gail, we're going to go to a question here from Susan Tithery. She would like to know, what was the transition like for you from the ring to the producer area?
Oh, boy. That's a good question. I think in the last couple of years of me being active, I kind of started helping the other girls, and I guess it was a natural progression. I'd say once I decided to retire, definitely I was afraid. If you've ever seen the movie The Wrestler, it's kind of depressing, but I was always concerned about how I was going to feel after I retired, depressed, or was I going to miss it? And I think because of my physical being and feeling, like my back was hurting me, I think it was, it kind of was a reminder all the time of why I retired. So I don't miss it as much as I thought I would. And I think also being a producer agent helps me get my fill, basically. I'm so fortunate to be able to stay in the business so I don't have to miss it. I think also going from being a wrestler to an agent was a big change because I felt very confident as a wrestler. And not that I don't feel confident as a producer, but it's actually a learning process for me. Yes, I know wrestling, but now I got to learn a whole new role. So I think that was challenging, but pretty much they threw me into it from day one, and I think that's the best way to learn.
Hi, Gail. This is Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah, so I did have the privilege of getting to talk to you like 2 weeks ago. And in our chat, I talked a little bit about Scarlett Bordeaux and her role in the Impact Knockouts division. She did that lap dance segment with Scott Steiner. It's done like almost 1 million views on YouTube.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like done. It's gotten some eyeballs. What do you think we can learn from that? And do you think we will see a sexier Impact Knockouts division because of things like this?
Well, definitely. I think there is room for that. I always have believed that, despite probably people wouldn't think that I would think that, but I think there's a room for everything. I think there's room for a strong women's division. I think there's room for female managers, interviewers, sexy roles, and I think that obviously you can see just based on the clicks that it is a very popular thing and people want to see it. So I mean I would like to see more sexiness, but also still have the wrestling obviously. Who knows what we're gonna see. I know that I don't know if it was you that told me that Don Callis had said in an interview that we want to go in that route, and I think it's a great idea. I do.
And I guess I'll follow up. I got to be at Homecoming, which was great, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching the X Division match, and kind of hip thing right now I guess they're doing in WWE is women's first matches. Would you like to see a women's X Division match? Do you think there would be a place for that?
Someone just asked me that, actually. The day of the pay-per-view, they were setting up the whole setup for that match. And it's funny because when I was active years ago, one of the writers had approached me about that, and they said, do you think that we should do one? And it's just going to probably sound wrong when it comes out of my mouth, but I am one to want the best. So I want the girls to have the best match. I want them to steal the show, and I always felt that way as an active wrestler. And truth be told, maybe some women can prove me wrong, but I think that match is a lot of upper body strength, and I'm not sure how many girls can execute it to that degree, and I feel like we would be compared to the X Division. Maybe if we had come up with something that's similar, that's not the same, I think that would be more realistic. Because I remember, for example, for me, it was always, if I had a magical match that I was so proud of, and I had to work the same person after that again, it was always about topping that last thing and being the best, like I said. And if I didn't feel like I could, I wouldn't want to disappoint or be less than. So I think in that style match, I don't know if we'd be able to surpass the X Division guys because they're so super athletic. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I kind of take what you said as like a challenge to the women in a way, and I could see how if you and say, F you, Gail Kim, you don't think I can do an Ultimate X match because I don't have the upper body strength. But I mean, I'm a man. What do I know?
Hey, I hope that the girls do have that attitude and that they want to do it and that they would do it and that they kill it. I guess I'm just trying to be a realist right now. And for example, my match with Taryn Terrell, last knockout standing a long time ago in Slammiversary, right after that match, for TV, they wanted us to have another last knockout standing match. And I said, honestly, I don't even want to touch that match. I don't want to be compared to it. I want to leave it as it was. And then I fought for a ladder match. And I'm so glad we did because it was completely different and, wasn't going to be compared to that last match. And I just think overall, in my mind, for the body of work and how it comes out, the results of it.
Yeah, and I remember that match with you and Taryn. What? I don't want to take up too much time. What's Taryn up to? Is she wrestling? No, not wrestling. I don't know.
She's not wrestling. She's doing stunt work, but I know she wants to come back to wrestling.
Great.
She does miss it, just like everyone else that enters this business. I think, I always tell everyone wrestling is like the mafia. Once you get in, you can't get out.
All right. Well, I'm terrified. Thank you very much for the time, Gail.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Gail, I think that question, Nick's first question is a perfect segue to a question we got here from Ken B, who would like to know, what is your relationship like with Scott Steiner, and do you have any crazy backstage Steiner stories?
Oh, boy. No, I hate to disappoint on this question, but I've worked with Scott through the years, very on and off, and I will say he cracks me up. He's probably the one guy at the top of the list that I love to watch do promos. He's just so entertaining, and you never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
You never want to give him a live microphone, is what you meant to say.
Maybe, but I like it. No, I think you guys should, because I like to hear it and see it.
Hello, this is Carlos from Indie Pro Wrestling, IndiePW.com. How you doing today, Gail?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, a couple of days ago, the CEO of Anthem, Len Asper, went on Twitter, and he was thanking, Impact Wrestling for doing great shows. One of the fans said, would you be able to bring Impact to Chicago? And he says that they are in discussions for a Chicago show. Do you have anything that you can add that, like, as a comment? Would you guys be interested in working with, like, one of the local promotions to kind of, like, run the show? Or do you guys have any venues in mind?
In terms of those types of decisions and everything, I am an agent, and that's as far as it goes. So I don't know that kind of information.
Okay.
Probably better relying off of the Anthem tweets, because they would know more. But absolutely, I think we should be hitting up Chicago, New York, parts of Texas, the Northeast. Those are the most popular areas. Actually, Los Angeles has become really popular for wrestling as well on the West Coast. So I think that, we definitely need to hit those towns. And Chicago's always the top of the list because they've always been very passionate about wrestling and always draw a crowd. So I hope we get to go there. There's been a couple of cities that I've suggested, but I never know what's going to happen. I mean, I can just only suggest.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you guys mean, but I would definitely love to see some kind of, like, partnership to kind of, like, build up the fan base, so that people who are already excited for, like, such and such company to come over, and watch Impact.
I agree. It's been a winning formula so far. Once we started doing this a couple of years ago, working with local promotions in those cities, working with AAA and all these other companies internationally, I feel like it's just really worked. I mean, when we did the Lucha Underground show at WrestleMania last year, it was a success, and I want to see more of that. I love seeing everyone kind of work together to make wrestling great and give a variety of options for fans.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Gail. This is Alex from Slam Wrestling.
Canada, yes.
Yes, Canada.
That's right.
So a lot of wrestlers have been very open about, their life on the road, the good parts of it, the bad parts of it. And I'm just curious, with all of your experience, what were, like, the peak of your traveling experience and, like, the pits of them?
Okay. People are probably going to say I sound bitter, but everyone that knows me or follows me on social media knows I just get straight to the point and I'm very direct. I would say for me, my peak of my career and happiness was always working outside of WWE because it was a lot more independent. Yes, it was less stable, but it's almost exciting, I guess you could say, to live like that. But I traveled this sounds crazy, but I traveled way more internationally after I got out of WWE, just because I was never really booked on the overseas tours. Once in a while I would be, but not fully. I got to see much more of the world outside of WWE, and I was just happy and relaxed when I was in TNA Impact on the road and just doing other independent shows, and it's just a different world, you know. So I think when you're in WWE, I think it's a great time for young wrestlers or wrestlers who have never experienced it, and I think everyone should experience it. I always tell, despite my experiences there, I always tell every wrestler, you need to experience it if you have not. You do have to give your life to them. They literally want you to eat, breathe, sleep it. So I think it's great for people who are entering the business and maybe in the prime of their career, but I think I always try to remind people who have been there a long time that I still speak to, that sometimes they forget there's a real world out there, you know, because you live in this bubble and you're constantly on the road, and when you come home you're so exhausted, and then you have to get your errands done in a day, and then you're back on the road. So it's very hard. So I give it to them for sticking to that schedule. It's a lot.
Oh, for sure. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Why didn't Greg call in?
He leaves all of the stuff up to me now. I'm like one of his new little star writers, if you will.
I know that. I just wanted to tell Greg we say hello.
I will.
Hi, Gail. Stephanie for Search Magazine UK.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, great. My best wishes for this new year to you too, Ross. Yeah. Oh my God. My question was, do you think the sky is the limit for the knockouts? We already saw ladder matches, last knockout standing matches, even coffin matches.
Yeah.
But do you think, the sky is the limit, and maybe we can go to things like Iron Woman matches, and why not intergender matches? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, I think that the sky's the limit, like you said, and you know, I just had someone else ask me about whether the girls can do an X Division type match, and I hope that they prove me wrong, because I kind of just said I would like a different style match so that they don't get compared to the guys, because I always want the best and I want them to blow everyone away. I think that as long as the girls are comfortable, and I think that every girl wants to far exceed the fans' expectations, I don't see any of them turning down any type of match or a challenge. So I hope that we get to see it. You know, I would say in my years with TNA Impact, I had steel cage matches, the last knockout standing matches, ladder matches, the street fights, no DQ. I mean, we've had it all for years, so I don't see why we wouldn't continue that. We just finished our tapings in Mexico City, and there is going to be a street fight we're going to see from the knockouts, so definitely tune in.
Can't wait to see that.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
Another one, another promotion announced this Monday the return of the women's tag team division.
Yeah.
Is it something you want to see come back on Impact?
Definitely. I think that if we add a few more girls, though, I think Impact has been really great at making most of the girls, if not all of the girls, a part of the show. And so we have two storylines going, or two feuds going on at once. So that's great to see. And at the moment, the state of the knockouts, I feel like they don't necessarily need the tag team title because the story is interesting enough. But I have seen a lot more tweets about that since WWE has introduced the tag team titles to their women's division, but they do have a lot more girls than us. So I think that if we added some more girls, I think that could be maybe a discussion that could come up.
Okay. And if I can add, so I'm from France, and you're absolutely a great inspiration for many women, and in my case, I would say you're definitely one of the people in this business that I've always been an inspiration for me.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you to say.
That's very true.
Sorry? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear that last part.
No, but that's very true.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, we'll move from that to a question we received from Mike Gilly, who would like to know, what is the match you're most proud of in your career?
There's two, but okay, so one as a babyface, one as a heel. Babyface against Awesome Kong, no DQ, final resolution. The only reason why I would say that had a little bit of an edge over the last knockout standing with Taryn is because we had a lot more time, I think, and I think the storytelling was better in that match. But I'm equally proud of both. I feel like they were both in two different times of my career, and definitely appreciate both because there's very few what I call magical moments that you have in your career, and those two were both magical moments.
Gil, you've talked about your back.
Yes.
We'll take a question here from Golden Jet Ben. I don't think there's any relation to Golden Jet Bobby Hull, but that's just me. Golden Jet Ben would like to know, what is the most painful move you've taken in your career, or most painful moment in your career?
Oh, boy. I don't feel like anything. Oh, there was one, but because normally all the big, huge things you've seen me do that look devastating weren't as bad as they looked, I guess you could say. I always walked away pretty good. There was one match with Madison Rain I had in Miami lockdown pay-per-view, and I gave her a neck breaker in the steel cage match, a neck breaker from the top rope when we both ended up landing in the ring, and I remember I just didn't walk for days after that, and I feel like that was kind of the turning point of where my back started deteriorating. But, you know, we're insane, and I wouldn't take it back for the world.
Hi Gail, this is David Dunn from New Zealand Pro Wrestling Informer. I've got a question about this week's Impact. Using the lineup as an example, we've got Jordan Grace versus Ali, we've got the Scarlett Bordeaux's talent search, there's an update on Taya Valkyrie. That means that knockouts are featured in at least 50% of all the advertised segments. How does it feel to have the knockouts division featured so frequently and so prominently on Impact Wrestling?
Oh, I'm so proud. I mean, well, first off, I have to tell you, Australian accents or New Zealand, very similar. I love them. My favorite.
Excellent.
I always tell my husband I like them more than the British accent. I had to say that, sorry. I'm so proud because, you know, we've gone through our ups and downs, but I will say I feel like the knockouts have kind of always been that consistent for Impact Wrestling TNA back then. They've always done really well. And the company has just done an amazing job of knowing that and including them and really wanting them to be a part of that show very frequently. And like you said, I think that they just add to every segment. I think the knockouts are very special, and in a male-dominated, you know, world, it's always the females are always going to kind of stand out, and the girls have been doing an amazing job, especially lately. And I love seeing the mix of Scarlett and Jordan and Tessa and Taya, like you said. it's amazing. I love working with just, everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and I just love playing up to different aspects of all of them.
Absolutely, I agree. Looking forward to watching it this week on Twitch.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Gail. This is Kevin with WrestleZone.com. Pleasure to speak with you. Recently, earlier, we had a caller mention the video this week with Scarlett. It's a very provocative segment that was on Impact and now reaching near 1 million points. Obviously, people talking about the balance between a more provocative, sexy characteristic to the legitimate athleticism that you guys have already compounded there. What's the balance creatively that you think can be made there, where you can have all those fun, playful segments with some flirtatious stuff there that hasn't been seen in wrestling in some time now, with the legitimate action that fans now feel is the new standard?
Right. I feel like I said, there's always been room for both. It's just a matter of doing it, and it doesn't have to be all wrestling or just all sexy. I think that you can always, like I said, at my first time in WWE, there was such a great balance of that great women's division on Raw. There was like Trish, Victoria, Jazz, Molly, Ivory, and then on the other side you saw like Stacy Keibler and Tori and Dawn and like all these girls who were fine with being in the ring, but maybe were not as passionate as the pro wrestling aspect of the business. Maybe they just like to entertain more. And I love that. But, I know Scarlett can wrestle, and I'm very sure that she's open to that as well. So I like to see a blend of it all. I think the fans like to see it. There shouldn't be any rules on, I get it's the women's revolution, but girls can be just as confident and strong in that role as they are in wrestling.
Now, you mentioned somebody there that you've been in the ring with before and you've had title matches with before, and that is Victoria, now known in Impact as Tara. She recently announced that this year will be her final year in the ring.
She did?
What do you think is the standing part of her legacy kind of going into the final run for her? And could we see her maybe have a cameo, if you will, in Impact in the future?
Yeah, I would hope so. I really, truly believe she was one of my favorite opponents. I mean, she was definitely my favorite opponent in my first run with WWE. We just quickly became really good friends and are friends to this day. And if you've ever met or talked to Lisa, her real name, she truly is the life of the party. She's so fun, and people just love her and are drawn to her. And she's always worked so hard and has been so giving to everyone, just a good soul. And I think that she never got a proper send-off, to be honest. And I hate seeing that. I hate when I see people, let's take for in the male category, Christian, of Edge and Christian type, type team. We never saw him get a proper send-off. I just want to see those people who gave so much to the business get that proper exit out, that they can have closure and be content. I was very fortunate to have that in my career, and I want that for her as well. So I think I don't know what to expect. I don't know who she's going to wrestle last and when this is going to be, but she should be really proud of her career and who she is as a person as well.
You couldn't be more wrong about that. Couldn't be more correct about that. Excuse me. I've had the chance to. No, I was just taking all that in. I've had the chance to work with her in several events, and you're absolutely right about that life of the party thing. And I think that'd be a great thing to see in Impact at some point in the future if it's possible.
I would love to see that.
Thank you for your time, Gail.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, this is Riju from Sportskida again. So Ross began this call by calling you the greatest knockout ever. How was it retiring as the Knockouts champion after so many successful reigns?
Oh wow, I just finished saying on this last call, I'm just truly grateful that I got the closure to the business for my wrestling active career that I wanted. I think that a lot of wrestlers don't get to achieve that. They don't get to maybe go out the way that they wanted, or sometimes people have careers where it's ended abruptly by an injury or some other reason. And so I'll just always be appreciative that I got to end my career just on a great note and with feeling calm and satisfied. So I really hope for all those wrestlers out there that they can have the same.
And a quick follow-up. What is your opinion on Taya Valkyrie carrying your legacy forward?
Oh my gosh, I just absolutely love her. Taya is a fellow Canadian. You know, she's been wrestling a long time. She has made her, paid her dues. She got trained by Lance Storm, went down to Mexico and lived there for 5 years. I mean, she's fluent in Spanish. She's just come so far, and she was kind of away from us this past year because of some issues with her travel and immigration. But when she came back, man, I have to tell you, she came back as a new woman. I was really excited to see her, and she has blown us all away. I mean, the fact that she's become Knockouts champion is being with the males, maybe one day, who knows, you never know. But I have, a very vested interest in the women. I feel like it's my little baby that I want to nurture and make the Knockouts division the best in the world. So I think right now I'm just concentrating on that, and that's my focus. But of course, very open to working with men, as always.
But the baby is beautifully gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm so proud.
Hey, Gail, Ryan Bowman from thegorillaposition.com again. A few of the company's former stars have made the same transition you did and have worked behind the scenes.
Yes.
Do you feel like as alumni there's sort of an emotional attachment in staying involved and pushing Impact because it's also identified with your own legacy?
Yes, definitely, 100%. I think a lot of people know that, Impact TNA has always, they gave me my opportunity, and without them I wouldn't have had the career that I had. So of course I have a vested interest in, I've always said TNA and Impact, whether 10 years ago to today, has always been a family, it's truly a family effort. And it's almost a better feeling to be part of a group that is fighting together to be the best. And you just have more of a satisfying feeling, I guess you could say. But I love it. I've always been very loyal, and I've always enjoyed my time here, and I've been the happiest here. So all I want to do is contribute and give back to this company and help it come to the next level that it needs to get to.
Alrighty, Gail. Well, I appreciate your time very much. We'll give you the floor now for a final thought as we wrap it up for this week.
Well, thank you all for contributing to this phone call, teleconference. I'm really excited to see not only what the Knockouts are going to be doing, but I'm excited for the whole company and for the roster and with our new platforms on Pursuit and Twitch. And like Ross and Josh had mentioned earlier in the call, that if you have Amazon Prime, you're automatically a subscriber. So check us out. And I think that this last year has been a major turnaround for our company, and I know it's just going to get better. So thank you for supporting, and keep doing it.
Perfect, Gail. Thank you very much. Media, thank you guys very much. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, Ross.